Okay, so in this tutorial, what we're going to do is look at how to create the simulated chat. So this is kind of a really clever technique that they used. I think they did a really nice job on this. So we'll click on the socializer. Basically, this is a little scenario. So you would go through the scenario. You can select your avatar. We'll just select Catherine. Then I watch my video. I have to go through the video, figure out what's going on, and then I have to assess that, how would I give better feedback? Here is my feedback. Now, one thing you'll notice is because I selected Catherine, that's who my avatar is. So I'm going to post this, and they're going to give me some more instructions. And you can already start to see the chat structure here, and you can see there's John, and down here there's Catherine. So this would be different had I chose a different character. And once the audio is done, I can click in here. And what's really neat about this interaction, you can see here's my feedback. I can see what other people said, and then I can reflect on it, and then I could post a response. And this is really the part I want to look at is, how do I create this post a response section? So let's look at what's going on. So I've got the character, I've got their feedback, and then I've got the post a response. Now when I click on that, you'll see that becomes edit response, and the icon changes, and I have a text box. I can add my text, here is my response. You'll notice I can't click on anything underneath this, and I'm going to post this, and then I can see my response. If I want to edit it, I click on edit response, and then I can and more, and I can post it, and you can see that it posts. So let's go ahead and look at how we could build something like this. So we're gonna have a post a response link. It's going to change to edit response. We're going to come to a place where we can add a response, and then we want to display what the response is. So let's look at storyline. We have these really cool little characters. So let's go ahead and we'll start with one of our characters. I'll just choose her. We'll insert her. Let's crop her up. Now, normally, you'd have your 3 characters. We're just going to build the one. So there's a bunch of gibberish here. There's the post response, and there was the characters conversation. So let's go ahead and add that. So we're going to add some text first, just so we have some of that same gibberish. So this is the characters response. I'm going to delete this extra stuff here. Let's just stretch this out. We can lighten this up a little as well. It's just so we've got the characters response here. We can make it a little bit smaller, and let me stretch it. Okay, so we got the characters response. They had these different buttons up here. One of the things they had up here was that post a response button, and then down here they were displaying the responses. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to add a box to kind of be, I'm going to add a box here to kind of be the divider, right? So we kind of had a little box up here. I'm just going to fill this. I could make this a line as well, but I'm just going to use the gray, and we'll no outline, and we'll just duplicate that. And let's just say this was at the top as well, and I think they had one at the bottom. So this is where my response would go. So I'm going to do a post a response button. So we're going to go to insert, and let's just insert a text box, and the text is right here, and it was post a response. And it was kind of thicker text. We don't need to have it probably this wide. It's a little thicker, right? So we can make it bold, and let's use that blue color. All right, so there's the post a response. Now they did have the little icon that changed, so we'll look at that in a second. But we have a post a response here. And what I want to do now is have a way to enter some text for a response. I'm going to assume they used a layer, so when I click on this, it's going to open a layer. So I'm going to click on this layer here. We'll say this is response 1, right? Because I might have 3 different responses. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to put a trigger on this. What do I want to do? When I click on this, I want this to go to response 1. So I'm going to actually title this. So this text box is my response 1, right? And then the rest of this is all regular stuff. We don't have to worry about that. So it's my response 1. When I click on this, add a trigger, what do I want to do? I want to show layer. Which layer? The response 1 layer, when the user clicks on my response. All right, and so let's see if that works. So click, and it should be working, but we don't know because there's nothing in our layer. So let's go ahead and add something in the layer here. That a text entry, and this is good to know here on the text entry when we're going to add that. And you can see it looks this way. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fill it with white, and let's add the blue outline to it. So on the text entry, when you create a text entry, Storyline creates a variable, and you'll see there's a trigger here that says text entry. So set text entry, which is the variable, equal to typed value, right? So whatever I type in there, that's going to be the value of the variable, and it's going to be triggered when the control loses focus. And this is important on this demo because you'll see that when we actually look at the thing. I'm actually going to put this up here, down here, so we'll see the display of the content, just so you can kind of see it. So when I type in here, as soon as this loses focus, so as soon as I click away, the value of the variable is going to change, and you'll see why that's important to know. One thing I'm going to do is Storyline creates the text entry variable. We're going to go to the variables panel. We're just going to title this because it's always good to title stuff. So we're just going to call it my response 1. Hit OK and hit there. So now we can see set my response 1 equal to the typed value. And they have a little button, so we're just going to insert a button as well. Let's just do this. And this one's going to say post. And let's just fill it with that blue so it looks really like it matches. And we'll just suit that. All right, so we have a button. When I click on this, it really doesn't do anything. Right now we're going to put a trigger on here to hide the layer so that we come back to our main slide. So let's add a trigger to this button. What do I want to do? I want to hide layer, this layer, when the user clicks on the button. So what we should have is a way to click on this to go into the layer, add our text stuff, right? Set our variable and hit post, and then we're out of the layer. So then what we want to do is display our text. So to display the variable, all you have to do is come to the slide. We're going to insert a text box. We'll just insert it here, and you just insert a reference to that variable. So we go to insert, reference, select the variable. It's my response. So it's going to display the variable. So it's really just percentage sign, name of variable, percentage sign. So if we preview this, right now there's no value, but watch what happens. We're going to post a response. I'm going to type in and hit post, and now you can see there's the variable. I'm going to post a response. I can click here, add more, hit post, and you can see post a response. So it just keeps doing the same thing. I'm going to type in AAA. What you'll notice, I'm not going to click on the button. I'm just going to click somewhere on the slide, and you can see anytime I click on the slide, it's going to change the variable. So the button, the illusion of the button doing it is broken, and that's because once I click away, that sets the value of the variable. So we need to figure that out, how we're going to cover that up, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So everything's working exactly the way it works in their thing. The only thing we need to do is some of the nuance. One is when they clicked on my response or post a response, the text changed to edit a response, and they had this little icon. So we're going to do that right now. It's really just a matter of adding a visited state. So first thing we're going to do is add an icon. I want to make the icon part of the text box. So if I clicked on the text box and I go to states and I edit states, I can come into the normal state and I can actually add a icon in here. So Storyline has these really cool icons. So we're going to insert an icon. I'm just going to grab one of these. I think this one looks fine. We'll insert this, and let's go ahead. Let me scale this here and move it here. You can scale it up a little bit. All right, and if you want to zoom in, you just use your mouse wheel and your keyboard or your keys there. All right, so let's say this looks good. I want the post or response to be filled with white and the blue outline. So we're actually going to just choose one of these. So it's filled with white, and we're going to choose that blue. All right, so that's our poster response. Now when I click on this, it's going to be visited. So let's just create a visited state. So I'm going to duplicate this here. We're going to do visited state, which is a pre-built. We're going to hit add. Now the visited state is just going to pick up the text, but it's not picking up the icon. So we're going to come over here. Let's grab the icon. Control C, that puts it on the clipboard. Control V puts it over here. And now we're going to fill this, and we'll turn off the outline so the white's a little bit bigger. And then we just got to come in here and change our text. Edit response. All right, so that should be done. So let's preview this real quick. And when I click on this, it changes, right? And now I can type my text in here, post. Now the problem, we have two things left to do. One is how do I, when I'm in here and I add more text and I click away, how do I keep it from displaying? And the other thing is if I had multiple buttons, I don't want them to be able to click all the buttons. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's assume, we'll move this up here and let's zoom out a little bit here. So let's assume we had a whole second character pack, right? Let's just do this. Let's get rid of this extra line. So let's assume we had another character and then we had this whole poster response, just like they had 3 characters, right? I don't want you to be able to click. When you click in here and you come to this layer, I don't want you clicking on here. So let's fix that. So I'm going to come into the layer. To keep a person, we can move this up here as well. Let's just move this back into here so it looks a little neater, right? So a little more balance here. So to keep you from clicking on these buttons, I'm going to insert a hotspot. What a hotspot does is it's like an invisible button, but it's also like a barrier. So I'm going to move the hotspot underneath everything. So now I can't click through the hotspot. Now the hotspot, because it's intended to be a button, it's going to have that mouse cursor. So if you right click on the hotspot and it says show hand cursor, let's just go ahead and turn that off. So this way it doesn't look like that's clickable. So now when I come in here, the only thing I can click in is here and the button. So that fixes that. The other thing we want to do is I don't want this to show while I'm typing. So if we come back in here, see how it's going to show once I'm out of focus. I'm just going to come down to the base objects and expose that. And I know this is the my response one, it's your first one. So I'm going to hide that here, and it should, oops, maybe it's my response 1.1. Okay, I don't know why it's not hiding, but it should hide. Maybe I'm not clicking on the right text box. Oh, that's text box 2, so I mistitled that, but that's okay. Let's hide text box 2. All right, there it's hidden. Now we can't see that. All right, and so now we're done. So if we preview this, I've got the box here. It's hidden. I can't click on these things, add my text, post it. I can say it if I want to edit it. I can edit it, add more stuff, and post. Pretty cool. It's a really nice interaction. A lot of really neat use cases for that. And that's how you build it. Hope that helps.